down to you, he is willing to learn. But you have to be able to take a step back and not like fall off the cliff. Where he says that, big chains are popular in rap music today because when black people were brought over on Middle Passage, they wore big chains to smuggle gold in.
And see, that's where you cut me off, right? And I'm gonna take the mic back for this reason. I don't have no time to explain none of that. It's fuck you and fuck everything you stand for. I don't need shit from you. You're a fucking racist idiot. Fuck you. I don't care if it's because you're super racist and your grandma too. I'm glad they fucking did. If they ain't yet, fuck them. Right? Sometimes you gotta take a hard line against ignorance and just not fucking even engage with it on any fucking level, right? And what I was saying earlier was going back to when there's somebody that has shown blatantly obvious signs of racism, my interaction with them is going to completely change. Now, if it is business-wise, I'm not going to alienate myself business-wise until I have a better resource, right? So if I'm utilizing you for something, contractually, we will stay bound. Outside of that, fuck you, right? Because that's just business one-on-one, right? But one thing I don't like is when I see somebody defend that behavior, that blatantly obvious behavior, and say, but my personal interaction with them dictates otherwise. Although I see that they're moving this way collectively with everybody else, with me, I don't see them as a racist. That is what I think is disingenuous, and that was the point of contention in the conversation that we are having prior to your injection right now, right? Because there's a specific event that happened with Matt on this stage, which Deborah was referencing on the other stage, where we know what Matt is. You clearly just said you know what Matt is, but he was defending him, saying he had been to Matt's home, and Matt was a different person in person, even though he may say racist things online. I think people are free to be who they are, where they feel more anonymous online, where they feel more protected online, because you can't literally reach across and smack the fuckery out of them right there on the spot, right? So they're protecting. You'll see a lot more racist, what they would call trolling, which is still very indicative of who you truly are, right? You're just free to be that in a space where it's digital, right? But I still think that's a big indicator on your personality, although when you see me and I show up in person, my frame might not make you feel comfortable in saying the things you're saying online, I still know that that is how your thought process works. That is how you analyze me, whether you want to say that to my face, which would be smart, or not.
I agree with that, Jim, but I also think that, like, at the end of the day, the smoke that we're holding, it actually should be towards Trip, not Matt, because, like, what we have instead of, like, we just have an enabler. Because what we're actually seeing is the gaslighting of the collective of black people, because Trip has enabled this type of behavior and continues to invite those individuals into spaces. And, like, that's where, like, wow. Yeah, but also because we've had so many freaking conversations with these people, and we know, okay, this person, like, I don't know if you guys have, like, engaged with Dr. Responsible at length, but Dr. Responsible has actually, like, listened and has an understanding of the shit that we've said, and he has made it known that regardless of his understanding and his grasp of the complexities, he is still selected to hold these racial beliefs because of the blacks, okay? So that's different.
And the Latinos, Kalisha, because he said
yes.
He said about the flood last night. He said about the flood, he only cared if the American, not if the Mexican or whatever.
Yeah, that shit was insane. But I mean, so I think there's a lot happening in these spaces and in these times. But like one of the things that I've learned is that like if I just like wrote off everyone who offended me, or if everyone wrote me off when I offended them or said something that was maybe uncouth or less than as progressive as I really am, like that would be a huge detriment to me. And that would be a huge detriment to all of us because we are all still learning and we don't know about where these racist biases have hidden in the depths of our souls and our personas until, something is we say some comment and then, that has the opportunity to be interrogated.
Yeah, but I deal with that all the time, right? I'm a vendor they're purchasing our product, what they sometimes are trying to give me a compliment comes across to me as you're one of the good ones. And I didn't know whites could. You understand what I'm saying? So I was a tail offense every time I was disengaged or not do business with them. I probably would have like a third of the streets I deal with at this point.
You think somebody will stress test when they say that shit, Gemini?
No, because I think they genuinely like I'm still getting happy holiday texts and everything else. They engage me on levels that they don't need to for business, right? Like I've developed personal relationships. You see somebody every Thursday, every Friday, you start getting relationships with them, right? So I do believe some of them are like they have racial bias, no question about it. However, we have a relationship, but I would never say they're not racist. I wouldn't say that. But I do think my engagement, my interaction with them, me conducting business with them in the manner that I do, me being consistent, on time, quality product, lab tests in hand, every fucking time, is going to allow more people that look like me, should they choose, to be able to engage in the exact same way and have that avenue open to them. Right? So I do believe that you can make progress in that way. I don't think you can just change somebody. But I think if we don't have people frontlining it in the way I'm doing in my field, and I'm sure there's people doing a lot more than me, I'm not trying to center myself in a lot of other ways that we don't make progress. We don't.
Absolutely. To show up is exactly like the type of thing that I'm talking about, because it is exhausting and it's not everyone's labor. It's not everyone's ministry. But like, I mean, also, I don't know if people necessarily really, until it personally impacts them, that they have to challenge those beliefs. Y'all, I have white grandparents. They were born in the 40s. Y'all think they don't say crazy ass shit? You're mistaken.
And let me jump in.
It's not like I can just be like, yeah, I'm done with you motherfuckers. No, like that's not productive. That's not going to. I need to be in different spaces because of that 1940s white privilege. And even the most wokest of the old whites still have that racist bullshit in them. But when we pause and you look at some of the elder black people, we can't say that they don't share some of those same fucked up beliefs about black people. So we have to pause and look at the environment as a whole and say, oh wow, this has shaped the lens through which they see life. So I have to be able to engage with them in a way that can build, not just cut them off at the knees. Because then I don't get any other resources.
Real quick, Gemini says your story about, fill in the blank, dot, dot, dot. Well, I've never seen, you can tell that someone looks like you who is so blah, blah, blah. I had that experience when I was in college when I met one of my friend's mothers. I'm not black, I'm very brown, but I'm not black. And when I met her, we talked, we chatted for a little bit, walked away, and then the next day, my friend comes up to me and she's like, oh, thanks for coming out, and, me and my mom. My mom's so crazy, she says the craziest thing. She's like, oh, I really liked your friends, but especially that Moose. He seems so charming and intelligent for a color boy.
Yeah, you can't be black and have whatever shade and not have heard those conversations. And I definitely understand it. Jim, what I wanted to anchor is this. Even the older, I'll start with this. Even the older whites, they knew that everybody wasn't just going to get hung for a tree. They knew that there was black folks that was going to push back. And they've always understood, and this is my whole point. If people don't speak against it, like you don't know that it's offensive when you say a jab. Immediately on the spot, you learn. When that situation comes up, or when you say, damn, you're a little more Jewish, and then somebody check you and say, hold up, because you're thinking, oh, penny pincher, growing up, you might have just thought being Jewish like that, that's just something everybody understands. But until a Jewish person says, hold up, man, hold the hell up, that shit was offensive. Well, no, man, come on, you just throw that little money, you just holding back, and you adding the line. So when you don't understand, you don't know, but in the moment, oh, you're going to get a check. But here's the point. Why man, in the clubhouse? Because the reality is, before you ever grab Gemini and take his ass to El Salvador on the street, and before you get a chance to prove that, hold up, shit, this is just kind of okay, yeah, but in reality, these thoughts exist. In reality, these play out a certain way. So if you never heard it, it's a blessing to let it be known that, yeah, you might have thought it's okay to just call these niggas and bitches and, okay, but you're gonna run up on the wrong one and ain't nobody gonna feel sorry for you because everybody ain't cool with the shit that may be cool in your circle and grandma's and whatever. It don't matter. It's right. It's right. So if you have to get the education real time live, then you might have to. But don't be mad and say you didn't know. That's all it comes down to because the reality is that in real life, when real life goes down out there, when shit jumps off, it's because of these thoughts that people have and they get comfortable with, and whether it was, fostered by training or this, man, what the hell ever, that shit comes out, whether you're drunk now or whatever the situation is, your real heart gonna show up. And it should be understood at that point, other folks want to live too, so it may put you in a real uncomfortable position because you never understood these are real people that care about living too, and all them little jokes and and you just cape in and you being studied too, whether it be treadmill, whoever the hell it is, me, whoever, you being studied. So just know that everybody's taking note. You might have to deal with whatever you got to deal with, like Gemini know or whatever anybody knows. But to hear you caping, oh, you're being studied. Oh, don't ever think for a second. People don't realize you will look the other way when they come to do some bullshit to this one. You're not going to push back at all because you're not going to jeopardize yourself. And that right there is very important and very telling and important to remember because everybody got to do one thing and one thing to survive. Okay.
That was just 3 years.
Thank you. I have a question. I mean, no judgment, but I feel kind of like racist. Because a lot of the people that you call racist, I don't see them being racist, right? And I just want to know, do people like group everybody together, or are you making these claims based off of own personal experience? Are you making these claims based off of what other people are saying? I
just realized this. I'm old now. There was a time, and this is not referring to you for a second, but there was a time we wouldn't even ever had to ask that question. Like, I have to realize the time period I'm in. As you get older, you really don't, time doesn't move that way. You see some things are, fundamentally, people understand, but, in the last almost 20 years, we've had a black president, and I realize that there are people born now that are almost 20 or 20-something years old that live through that, that think that we are in a post-racial society, and I just think people, and maybe it's my own understanding or my own assumptions that people have a better fundamental understanding of what racism actually was, and at best we assign it by default and let people defend it. Now there may be some people that think that that's not a good policy, but that's exactly the way it was because there were good reasons to assess that people were racist and did racist things. So I'm saying that to say, with your question, we assess what racism is based on what we understand it to be. People you don't have to necessarily be a racist to support racism. So there are people who endorse racism, either they endorse racism in a way that is actively or passively. Thank you. So there are people who do so passively and don't think it's a big deal. And there's a lot of that happens, and I'm realizing that now. Even with people who are good people, they just don't know what it is, and we have been convinced that we can't assess it to everyone because it's a bad thing, and we should not accuse everybody of being racist. We can't do that. Yes, the fuck you can, because your jacket fits. If you were the real racists escape. That's when they say, when it's all blacks are lazy, or all blacks are this, now once we're all lumped together, you can't sift through and find out who's good afterwards. It is not that category. It is. And it's not. It's not the same thing because we don't assess that. There are people who you might believe assess that just without thought or without cause. But that is based on our trauma. That is based on what we've experienced. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to have this conversation. I want you to think about this real quick. It's not incumbent upon people. You gotta hear this. You couldn't have this conversation if we actually applied that belief and retrofitted. And what I mean by that is this. We had white allies that assisted us to get to the point we are here now. And guess what? Hold up. We assumed all of them were racist and didn't engage and only secluded ourselves and worked with each other. We'd be on a fucking plantation right now. So you have to have wisdom and discernment to understand who is who. I'm not in disagreement with you. What I'm telling you is because I assess that you are racist or have racist tendencies, doesn't mean even to your that I can't work with you. There are people who assisted in the civil rights movement who were racist, Jimmy.
First lady's question was
How many
age, is there an age? I mean, are there people out there that may not? I mean, what considers a racist? We know the old terminology. Does anyone have anything to say other than that? Okay, thank you. So hold on. One mic on Dr. AG, please. Thank you. So what I would say to you firstly is, a racist is someone who manifests a committed belief in racism. And that can be, like Kalisha said, it's not one statement, but it is consistent statements. It is habitual behavior, right? And somebody who advocates for, supports racist practices and policies. For me, that is how I detect, to use your word, someone who is racist, right? I don't monitor how other people do that. Like I said before, in all my years on earth, I've never gotten into a discussion with somebody where I'm arguing a person isn't racist. That's not my battle. I don't police how other people determine that. I don't regulate that. But if you're asking me how I define it, that's how I define it. And then my final thing I'll say is that there are black people in the world who perpetuate racism and white supremacy, and I call them that too.
Yeah, let me say this on that thought, because I thought about this a lot in the last, like what you were saying, over the last 10, 20 years, whatever.
Let me ask First Lady if that was okay. Hold on, sweet, before you go, let me ask First Lady if that was okay, because she did ask the question.
Yeah, I'm processing what you said.
Okay.
We got anxious people on stage. But I just want to know, did somebody move Gemini there?
No, we're here.
No, she was down. I don't know how he got down there. Put him back up.
Oh, I didn't. I wasn't looking at my phone until I came to answer the question, so I don't know.
Not y'all playing IGB Boulay edition. Figuring out who's the people. Yeah, maybe.
I was anxious. Like Dr. AG, I was anxious to do what Dr. AG did and answer your question, lady. So I apologize for being anxious to answer your question. So I wanted to chime in and just do it out there to the floor. And so I'll say this. Racism is the term we use today. When we're really talking about white supremacy. White supremacy got lumped into a category called racism, which in and of itself waters down the conversation. Because the Chinese person loving Chinese people, to me, ain't racism. A person from Nigeria going to work here, racism to me. And so to water it all the way down, when the reality is that white supremacy, as it takes on you can't go anywhere and not have it be in the atmosphere, as Kalisha kind of eloquently pointed out, and it's in the fabric of everything. However, when you're talking about all of the layers and you're talking about individuals, that you can't even talk a certain way unless if your heart is not already shaped in a certain white supremacist kind of way, which could play out in you losing your life, or it could just play out losing a job, or it could just play out in just being the butt of somebody's joke. There's a lot of ranges to it. However, it's very telling, like Jim and I was saying, when you hear white supremacy coming from a black person, a light-skinned person, whatever, dark, white, when you hear somebody tolerating a total disrespect, like in the Jewish community, you'll never hear the slightest hint of a thought of anti-Semitism. Oh, they finna point your ass out so damn quick. Shit, you just if you thought a certain thing, you ass is getting ready to go to the goop in real life. It's that kind of thing that does not exist when it comes to black people. It's almost like, and that's with Trent, a person like Trent, I don't know Trent, a mindset that you hear coming out of him all the time, and I can think of some others. You hear a person that is cool with disrespecting black folks. You're cool with just accepting, if you're so you marry a white woman or a white dude, or you marry him, and you learn to talk a certain way. That is at the core of a white supremacist whole systemic thing. Now, whatever Trent may or may not do, but the bottom line is you realize they